Katie Porter had something to say about not only Nanci Pelosi, but she had something to say about politicians who want to make money on stocks, in effect, insider trading. So I want you to hear this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
There's a funny quirk about being in government and playing the stock market that was noticed by an economist a few years ago, specifically that members of Congress earned higher than average returns on their investments. While it's possible that some members of their stockbrokers could have particularly apt instincts in this regard, there's some clearly problematic patterns. This kind of thing happens all the time in Congress. So if you're wondering why this type of trading by members has not been addressed before, well, here's the thing, it kind of has. Back in 2012, Congress passed the Stock Act, meant to prohibit members of Congress from using non-public information for personal benefit. But with fines of just a few $100s, legislators continue to buy and sell hundreds of millions of stocks each year, raising some very clear ethical, if not legal, questions. Back in December, there was a push to ban this trading, but Speaker of the House Nanci Pelosi opposed it, saying, quote, "We're a free market economy." Well, it appears she has since changed her mind, saying today she is open to a ban on owning and trading individual stocks from members of Congress and also those in the judicial branch. Let me give the devil's advocate case here, which is just that, hey, members of Congress are just people. They have investments, and it's just going to coincidentally intersect. You're doing stuff in the public interest. You're taking investment advice. It doesn't mean that it's corrupt.
The problem here is not just one of actual corruption, it's also one of perception. The American people simply do not trust our federal government in many cases. And this is an example. Only about 1 in 4 Americans trust leaders in Washington to do what's right. So we need to be earning back their trust. And the way to do that is to hold ourselves to a higher standard. And so we need to simply ban trading stocks by members of Congress.
There's a lot of bipartisan support for this. It's become a kind of populist issue, even with folks like Matt Gaetz, for instance. There's folks on the right who really love it. The speaker was resistant. There's some reporting today that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others might have been organizing a discharge position, which is a way of going around House leadership to get something to the floor. How do you understand what appears to be a change of heart from Democratic House leader, Speaker of the House, Nanci Pelosi?
Well, Democratic leader Nanci Pelosi was wrong. I'm glad that she's changed her mind. I think that's a marker of leadership. But, the reality is I am always willing to stand up to leaders of both parties, including my own party. And I'm really gratified here that she is changing her mind. She said when she initially was asked about this that we have a free market economy. Well, she would also be the first, I think, to say that we have a free democracy. And that means what the American people want, what they feel strongly about, what they need to trust their leaders, we should be delivering. And that's what I think her change in position is signaling.
Yeah, we should note that the polling on this is pretty, you're getting 80% of Republicans and Democrats on congressional stock banning. It does seem like
I find that reassuring, Chris, that the American people across the board understand that we need to be able to trust our elected leaders. We have a lot of bad news about democracy, a lot of views about polarization right now. But the fact that we see that kind of widespread polling, that 80% of Americans understand that elected leaders should be putting the people's interests before their own interests, reassures me a lot.
Absolutely so. Reassuring. Anyhow, you notice that the difference between this crop of Democrats compared to, let's say, Republicans who will never go against leadership. You notice how she said we can go against our leadership, and Nanci Pelosi on this issue was wrong. And she came around because the pressure was on. Imagine if the Republicans had put pressure on Donald Trump. We likely would not have had over 900,000 dead Americans right now because he would have been forced to do something about the virus earlier on, as opposed to hiding it and allow it to spread indiscriminately as he allowed it to spread, and thus cause this eternal infection in the country.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.